Hello, friends, and welcome back. It's great to have you with us. It is Thursday, so happy Thursday to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And as you know, this is I guess, part two of this week's In the Loop with Greg and I. I'm excited to be here back with you. I'm going to keep you posted on all things business, finance. I actually have some pretty fun updates. I'm actually excited because I actually have positive and fun financial news for you. I think we just kind of keep with the correlation. It's been a great day in the financial markets, and big welcome to In the Loop with Winnie and Greg. For those of you who are new to the show, I'm Winnie's son, longtime financial pro, CNBC council member, and Forbes contributor, and host of Level Up, which can also be found on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, to name a few. And of course, we are here live, and I'm so excited to be back. Wow, Greg, 2 days in a row I get to be with you here. I think this is an In the Loop first time that we've been 2 days in a row. Has it been?
I'm pretty sure, as far as I can remember. Yeah, I think this is a first. So it's great to be back here and talking to everybody and just joining everyone live here. You know, we have a lot of fun things to talk about. I already like the fact that Winnie said there's good financial news today, so that's a bonus right out of the gate. And we've got some fun stuff to talk about in tech too. So there was the big Microsoft event yesterday. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Meta and VR and where all that is going. And I got one other thing at the end that we'll discuss too. But, you know, we're live here and we can take your questions, your comments as we go through. It's so good to see everybody. For those who don't know, I'm Greg Nibbler, longtime tech journalist, tech reporter, covering all kinds of different things, but usually I like the fun stuff. So we're not going to get too heavy into anything that's boring, but we'll talk about what's in the news and what's happening and get your opinions. So really would like to see that. Your questions, your comments, like I said, drop those in as we go through. So that'll be coming up in a minute though. But Winnie, I want to hear about what this good news is.
I know you deserve some good news, Greg, and I'm excited because everything's working great today. Your tech is doing wonderful. We can hear you nice and clear.
Knock on wood somewhere.
Knock on something. Yeah. And I see Joshua CrossX Fighter joining us from YouTube Live, and I know Joshua, you had shared on Twitter that you love raising positive good news, and we have a lot of that for you today. Vicky Garvey joining us from Facebook Live. Sadiq is joining from YouTube Live. Lots of friends today I see on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. As you know, we stream, I think, on 12 different social media platforms, maybe even more. So wherever you are joining us from, say hello, let us know how you're doing. And of course, if you have any questions when Greg and I kind of break down some of our topics, feel free to jump in because we'd love to hear from you. We might actually share your comments on the show too, which makes it really, really fun. All right. So here's what I'm going to say. Yesterday, as you remember, yesterday was kind of a weird day in the financial markets. It was like kind of down, kind of up, and then it kind of ended like triple negative day, but it was just like a little bit negative, not like great. But today, my friends, what's a big update? In fact, for those of you who are connected with me on Twitter, you may have seen I actually posted about this. Some days we go low, and some days we go high. Well, today we certainly went high. The Dow went up, closed up 827 points. NASDAQ up 232 big ones, and S&P 500 also up 92 points, which is very, very fascinating because I would have expected today to have a greater plunge and not such a huge positive rally day, because earlier today, the Fed actually delivered, and we know that the Fed's going to be delivering some bad news once again in November. There's going to be probably another big Fed hike, but we actually got more inflation data. And so, as you know, the consumer price growth now has risen to a 40-year high. This is as of last month. Well, because of that, the market actually, the producer price index came out, some of that data came out, which is showing that people are still buying, they're still consuming goods at a very high level. The price of goods continue to be very, very high. We saw that with wholesale prices. Well, the market actually dropped when the news first came up, but then all of a sudden people, I guess, thought about it and felt like, well, if it's dropping this much, maybe I should do some, discount shopping, bottom fishing, however you like to call it. And I guess a lot of investors and traders jumped back into the market. And so you see all these big positive numbers today. So really, really interesting day. Now, talking about things that rose today, though, one thing that if you didn't pay attention, if you're looking to purchase a home, I wish I had better news. This number is probably going to get even bigger. And this is that mortgage rates have yet once again hit another 20-year high. So if you're looking to purchase a new home or you're looking to refinance, this is, of course, not very good news. But at least you know, right? 20-year high now. Mortgage 30-year fix is close to 7%. This happened just this week as well. It's at 6.92%. So really, really high. But another thing that went high, and this is on the positive, is Social Security. Now, millions of Americans we know are on Social Security. Social Security just got another huge, big boost on its cost of living adjustment for 2023. And what that means is this is actually the biggest cost of living adjustment in over 40 years, in about 40 years. And what this means is starting in January, the average recipient of Social Security is going to be receiving about an extra $140 per month on their Social Security. That was adjusted for inflation. So this is a big thing. For those of you who are on Social Security or you have loved ones, maybe grandma and grandpa on Social Security, this is definitely good news because we know that a lot of our seniors worry about how they're going to keep up with expenses with everything going up in costs. Okay. Now, talking about all things positive, we're going in that direction now. This is a fun one. Now, Delta reported earnings, and they're saying that earnings look really solid because people are getting more optimistic. People are going traveling more. We know Greg just got back from a big trip as well. People are flying. People are staying at hotels. Let me tell you, I just got back from amazing, actually 2 separate hotel stays. And yeah, absolutely. The hotels are very, very busy. Restaurants are busy. It was a really fun trip. But on top of that, even if you're not flying, you might be wondering how you can earn more miles. And I really want to talk about this because this is something I'm really passionate about. I mean, what does a financial person do as their hobby? Well, they're really good at points and miles when it comes to travel because we're good at numbers. And this is something that all of you can do. So let's say, for example, you want to be earning points and miles when you shop and when you do your daily thing. Well, you know about credit cards, you know about like booking flights and earning miles and like that. But now Delta just announced a partnership with Starbucks. So starting this week, now you can actually earn 1 mile for every $1 that you're spending at Starbucks. You got to make sure now, you have to make sure you connect your two accounts. So you'll want to go to your Starbucks rewards account and of course your Delta Sky Miles. Make sure you have one of those. And there's a special website. You can set up this connection. So every time you purchase, you can actually earn miles. And for what they're doing is like the fun promotion, if you will, to promote this new partnership between now and the end of the year, December 31st, you can actually earn an additional 500 Delta Sky Miles once you join and you make one purchase. Now you're going to, you'll accrue also 150 stars, which is enough, I guess, for a free coffee. I don't know. I don't really go to Starbucks much, so I don't really know this stuff. But I thought it was really exciting because for a lot of people, we're just looking to make like extra miles and whatnot, making sure that you continue to have these so that you can travel ideally with less money out of your wallet and using points and miles to travel instead. This is kind of one of the things that I loved early on, Greg, was that this was a few years ago that Hyatt and American Airlines created a partnership. So, for example, I just stayed at the Hyatt in Carmel Valley Ranch. Then I was able to also earn miles on American and hotel points at the same time. So it's kind of, I always feel like it's kind of a magical double dip for those of you who are travelers.
Yeah, that is great. Any kind of tips like that, I love that. I mean, if you can get miles and however you accrue them, I don't go to Starbucks very much either, but I mean, just any kind of extra opportunity to add those on, and especially like you said, with things costing a lot, if you can get a free plane trip, just from doing things that you're already doing, I think that's a pretty great option. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, pretty awesome. So all of those are great deals.
Amazing. Well, Greg, I want to hear about this. I want to hear about Microsoft because I know yesterday you're going to share it, but I also know you probably got a lot of questions. I know I asked a question. What do you have to share with us today?
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. We'll kind of walk through what some of the announcements were, and I've got a couple of different things here that we're going to cover. But if you have questions too while we're live, feel free to drop those in, and if I can't answer them, I'll tell you where to go. So Microsoft had their service event. This is like I don't know how many different hardware events we've had over just the last 2 months. It seems like every week, and it really is that we've had a different one. So this was Microsoft's big turn at that. And Surface is their line of laptops, of basically their line of computers, pretty much everything that they've got. And we've been waiting to see what they were going to come out with, and was expected to get the first one here, which is the Surface Pro 9. So the 9th version of this. I had a Surface Pro 6 for a long time. I was pretty happy with it, actually. It's a pretty great computer. It's one where you can both use it as a tablet. You can attach a keyboard on it. You can do a lot of different things with it. It's very, utilitarian. You can use it for a lot of stuff. And that's what we got to see was the newest version of that. Now, looks wise, if you're a fan of these laptops, not a huge difference there in the appearance. And still, as always with the ports, you always want more ports, but you get two. So that's what you end up with on this. But overall, a good laptop. And as it's saying right there, now with 5G, so they've got a 5G option, 19 hours of battery life on that. So if you are traveling, as we were mentioning, you want to travel and work, 19 hours is a pretty good lifespan on a battery. I feel like for something like that, for something that's that powerful. So that was the kind of the big headline. You also had a couple of other things though that came out here. And so we have the Surface Tablet 5, the Surface Laptop 5. So that's the laptop in the line of things as well. So a fifth version of that, if you're a fan of that side of things. But the big kind of wow thing is something that they've had before that now we got to see a newer version of. And that is the Surface Studio 2 Plus. Not a Surface Studio 3, but Surface Studio 2 Plus. And that's what we got to see coming out here. So this is the really big workhorse, powerful machine. I got to play around with the original Surface Studio. Just that, even that lever right there is really amazing, just how many different ways you can balance this thing. But this is designed for creatives. This is designed for graphic designers, for people who are doing animation, for any kind of aspect like that, because it works with the Surface Pen. So you've got that kind of aspect on there, but you can really do so much with this thing. It's pretty amazing the kind of graphics you have. It's a 4K everything. It's 28 inches. Everything that you use there with your Surface Pen, your stylus works well on it. A little bit of disappointment with some of the, they're still using kind of an older GPU. So that's it for people who wanted something, really updated. Maybe that's why it's a 2 Plus and not a 3. So you just got kind of a partial update on there. But this is a really awesome machine, I got to say, for using it. However, it's going to be a little pricey. So this thing costs, actually, Winnie, I don't know if have you seen how much it costs? Or maybe we just showed it and I missed it when you were saying.
Well, you just showed
Oh, yeah, there it is right there. So it's right there. Yeah.
4,500 big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's without tax even. I mean, I guess that's the price it would be in your neighborhood, Greg.
Right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, for me, it would be no sales tax. But
I'd be like, Greg, can you help me order?
Oh, I don't, legally speaking, I've never done that for a friend.
Never. Greg doesn't do that.
Never at all. But yeah, it's an impressive machine. But yeah, that price point is just so high. So it really is targeting, and this is a lot of what we're going to be talking about today too, is targeting pros, targeting kind of that enterprise solution or people where this is your career or maybe a business that needs one of these. That's probably who's going to be getting that Surface Studio. But still, that some good announcements coming out from them. So that was the hardware side of things. Do you have any questions on the hardware stuff?
I don't have questions, but I just think it kind of looks like an iMac, but a touchscreen. Looks really cool.
Yeah. I mean, certainly you can have the arguments on which one you would use. I like it. Let's see, good idea. But the animators or graphic guys use Wacom. Yeah, mm-hmm. And that's true. You can tie that in, I believe, actually to this. But yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Ricky needs a loan now, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, you got to really be using it to make it worthwhile for that for $4,500. Okay, so that was that side of things. But let's talk about a couple of other things. So this is something that I think you might find interesting. Now, if you watch this show, Winnie uses mostly Apple products, Mac products, and I'm kind of more on the Windows and Android side of things. There it is. Yeah, got my Galaxy Plus right there. So this is kind of part of what's going on here is Apple and Apple and Microsoft are kind of teaming up a little bit more lately.
What?
And it's kind of weird, right? It's like, the complete opposite ends here, kind of working together. And the reason is this. So there's some new integrations that are going to be happening. Apple TV and iTunes are going to be, Apple Music is going to be available now on Windows devices and on Xbox, whereas previously that really wasn't something that was happening. It's very there, you know, Apple likes to keep their things on their side of it. And this team up is pretty big. And so iCloud also coming to Microsoft platforms. So if you have things in there with with iCloud, you know, it's going to make it a lot easier. And that's always one of the hardest things for anybody to use. You either really have to be in one of the ecosystems or not. And especially when it comes to Apple, they don't like to share their toys. But this is something that, you know, we're going to be able to see a little bit more of a team up on there. So that I think is a good sign for at least all of us, for consumers. So if you have an iPhone and all your stuff's in iCloud, well, now you don't have to worry as much. It's going to be able to work much easier with Windows and into all of their platforms. So I think it's good. I think it's good. Everybody's coming together.
This is a really, Greg, I feel like this is a big, big deal. It's
Yeah,
like literally like, it's almost like the two crazy step siblings are getting along finally.
right.
This could be the beginning of iMessage for, I mean, this hopefully, right? Sadiq, hopefully, because Sadiq said Windows is a clone of Apple OS. So I feel like I think it's in Microsoft's best interest to play well with Apple. I'm not sure if Apple really needs to play with Microsoft, but I don't know what you think.
I mean, I think you could go either way on that. But I mean, with the Windows side of things, it's much more third party friendly as far as that. So I think that, you know, it's they're more open to it than
Mm.
Apple usually is. Apple doesn't like to share too much. So
Bad
once
Apple.
you're in, they want you in. They don't want you trying out stuff from other people. But feel like Windows users are a little bit more open to trying out Apple products because there's a lot of people that use iPhones but are still Windows users. So I
Mhm.
think this is going to be good. Any kind of integration, I feel like, is good. It's good for everybody in the end to be able to do that, to try out different things. So
Might not be
yeah,
good for Apple. I feel like they don't really have a need to do this because I feel like PC users and Android users are kind of the same, right? And then, but once you have an iPhone and you see the integration with the iPad and the MacBooks, it's hard to break that. And then would Apple benefit from this? I don't know if Apple would benefit from it, but
I mean, I
yeah.
think they would for a few different ways. As far as, I mean, there are benefits to a Windows machine in some aspects over a Mac, but
Mhm.
and there's also people who are just used to it, who
Yeah,
just aren't going to switch. So if their
they
iPhone
could
is
get
now going
more
to integrate
share.
with that a lot better, then that's better
Mhm.
for the iPhone user who is still
Mm,
on a Windows PC, or
true.
maybe, you know, they don't use a laptop enough to warrant purchasing something that's, you know, maybe a very expensive Apple laptop. This will be a way. I think it's good. I think it's good. But yeah, Apple can also still force you to just buy the Apple products. They could do that.
Yeah. Sadiq
So
says because Apple is a closed ecosystem.
it is.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and Vicky
Yep.
is saying Apple and Microsoft AI technology together.
Yeah. I mean, you know, at least they're playing nice a little bit. Playing nice together just a bit. I don't think it's going to go too far. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot more of this, but you know, I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. So let's see. So we've got that. And I'm sorry, when I look down here, I'm just going through my list because there's so much stuff that was going on here. Here's something else that I thought was kind of cool that they brought out, and that was Microsoft Designer. And this is following that trend of using AI art. Now, I don't know if you have any friends that have been doing this. I've got a few friends who are constantly in, especially they're graphic designers or video creatives that are creating AI art, which is where you go. There's one called Dolly. So that's one of the kind of the big ones that's out there. And this is integrating that kind of technology into something that makes it a lot easier for people to use. And again, focusing on designers or creative types,
Mm.
graphic artists, that kind of thing. And they're going to make it a lot easier to create this AI art and add that into everything. So Dolly 2, that's the second version. There's some really interesting AI artwork out there. But this would actually help you out for, say, you could just describe something, you know, for, say, you need some artwork for something that you're doing. Boom, you can describe it and you can get something instantly created right there just by that.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Now, regular graphic designers, I guess that would be a good question. Is this something you're happy about or not? Because that could be an issue possibly. But it sure does make things a lot easier, and they're integrating it into into the Windows products. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to use it.
Especially for those of us who are not graphic designers. I mean, talk
Yeah,
about time saver. It's kind
exactly.
of like those like the next level of Canva or some of the Adobe tools, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more. I mean, it's really big right now, AI artwork. And I think you're going to see it integrated into a lot more things. This is just a sign of the times. So yeah, I'm sure Adobe's going to have some more things, I would guess, that work in with that. And pretty much every platform is going to have to figure out how to put it in. There's still some issues with like figuring out, rights and all that stuff. But yeah, this is one thing that Microsoft's going to be doing. So
Very
another thing that you can add in there.
Yeah, Vicky is saying so cool too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Just typing in anything you want randomly and you can get some weird stuff out of these AI platforms, depending on what you type in for your keywords. So that's one more thing. So that's added in there. And then there's a few other things that Microsoft talked about, but I mean, those are kind of the big highlights, at least as far as what I thought that we can see. So overall, I mean, I think it was a good day, a good announcement, good event for Microsoft with all of that service stuff. All right, want to talk about Meta? Let's talk because Meta, aka Facebook, also had an event as well, and their event was focusing a lot around the metaverse and how much they are investing in making that a thing and how that's going and where it's at. But one shift they are doing, and this also does bring in Microsoft as well, they're really making a push for more of like a corporate, like enterprise use case of virtual reality, of the metaverse. And they're talking about meetings in there, but also workflow in there, and really integrating that into more of kind of our normal workflow that we would have at an office. So instead of say like a Zoom meeting, they actually are going to be working with Zoom. Zoom's going to be available on there. You could bring that in. They're working with Microsoft, so where you could have a Teams meeting in the VR space. So you could have all kinds of different things going at the same time. And really the idea is just a different way of working. And that was one of the themes they were going for. And to do that, they have a brand new headset that's going to be part of this. So it's the Quest Pro that's going to be coming out. And the Quest Pro is their brand new one. It's pretty sleek looking. They put the battery in the back of it. So the battery is actually around the back of your head. So it gives it a little bit more of an ergonomic flow right there. This is not going to be a cheap headset, though. This is something that's really, like I said, they're targeting kind of more that workspace use for it. I believe it starts at $1,500. So maybe that's a set price. I don't know if there's any add-ons. I'm sure you could probably do, but yeah, for $1,500 that's a big entry point. If you're just used to going into VR, maybe watching a movie or playing a few games, I feel like that's kind of a steep price, but that's not really what they're going for. They want workspaces to be using this. They want really big artists to be using it, and that's kind of what they're showcasing here. Different ways you could do it. This demo's kind of interesting, having people from all over the place, join in on that and be able to work together in that platform. This is what they want. This is the way they envision this. I'm curious, Winnie, what do you think about this? Like, do you think that this is something you would use to interact, like, say, with your clients?
I
I
mean,
think that answers it right there.
I guess if my clients would want this experience, but I mean, I think it's really cool. And it's interesting because if you're talking enterprise, and typically that would be something we would be actually that market for the financial arm of our business. Yeah, would for sure be a target for this. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but it needs two people, right? I mean, it's not just like if I had it and you didn't have it, like it'd be weird, right? How would we?
Well, there's ways that you can actually join in without having one of the headsets, even if somebody else has it, and you can kind of view it.
Mhm.
So you can bring other people in other ways. But yeah, what are the advantages of it? I mean, to really take advantage of it, I think everybody would probably really need one.
Yeah.
Although you could show demonstrations and move things around, especially if you're building something, and everybody would be able to get a better look at it as you can manipulate things in that virtual space.
Mm-hmm.
I think that part is pretty cool. I've seen some demonstrations at CES before of something like this, and this was even a more primitive version, but some automakers who are working on designing a new vehicle. and they could be
Mhm.
in Detroit or LA or Berlin or something, and they could all join in and look at every single aspect of the vehicle. So that was kind of the demonstration. You could zoom in, down to see a screw, where that goes, and you could all actually, see a 3D rendering of it in real time and manipulate it with your hands. Like that kind of stuff, I think is a good use case for it.
Mhm.
A financial meeting, I don't know what you. I guess you could show the
Yeah.
numbers moving around. I'm
You can
not
show
sure.
numbers. You can move, like you could move. Yeah, I mean, we could do it, but I don't think it's a necessary thing. This is
Yeah,
probably one thing I'd rather keep that money invested in something else. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's cool. I think, like you said, it's a very specific niche at this point, right? I don't
yeah.
think it's mainstream yet. But like, I mean, okay. I'll say this. I just took my kids to the orthodontist yesterday, and I think that would be cool. That'd be a cool thing where like you could see, the dentist working in the teeth and
Oh,
all.
oh no, I don't want to see that.
I mean, not you, but like maybe like the parent or
Yeah,
somebody. I'm maybe not. And then see, that's the thing is then it's a very limited population because let's be honest, right? As a lot of these enterprise, whether it be software or systems or tools or hardware, requires a lot of costs. And
yeah.
so, if it's very specific to those industries, I think you're missing out if it can't be used for more service business as well as like manufacturing businesses. But no,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of this is they're trying to figure out, they're just kind of taking stabs at everything and seeing where it's going to land and when this interest is going to come because they're investing billions of dollars into it. But I think you're right. I think the general public just isn't there yet. I have seen
Mhm.
some demonstrations that are really cool. At actually, when I was at IBC in Amsterdam, part of the
Mhm.
Microsoft demonstration used the HoloLens, which is their augmented reality headset, and it
Mm.
was it was a really like AR augmented reality. I feel like there's a lot more. It's a lot more tangible for people
Mm.
to once you try it to understand it. The demonstration there was it was like there's a basketball game that was going on, and then you would be able to like move things around. Like you could stop the play and then actually move players around and then replay it, and it could render it as though they did this instead. It was pretty high power, like cool stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's going to be the bigger thing for me is augmented reality. I think that's going to be where it's overlaying stuff over your real world,
Cool.
and like the manufacturing side of things. There's a lot we could go down with that and go down that road, but this is what they're talking about. So this is where Meta's going. Whether your office is going to be getting one of those or not, anybody out there,
Yeah.
let me know. And maybe this is something that people could really find very beneficial. Or maybe they're just going to build it and then hope that it
Yeah.
comes along, hope
Yeah, this
people
will be
find
cool.
use.
This kind of technology would be great, right, Greg? Especially now, like I'm thinking, like this is like the future of like remote work and remote like
Yeah,
education and like in the medical center, there's like so
collaboration.
many. Yeah, like maybe these sort of tools will enable us to really truly be agnostic of location, where we could just be anywhere and collaborate. If enough people have this, then you wouldn't even know if we're joining us from I don't know
Yeah,
wherever, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, really, you could. I saw Sadiq mention something that there was a lot that he wrote there, but Microsoft is teaming up also with Meta. So if I think I forgot to bring that up, so you're going to be able to work on Microsoft products within that if you want to, or just put it on a big screen. Also, Xbox streaming is going to go into the metaverse. So
Cool.
even I mean, that just might be kind of cool because you could have a gigantic, huge screen, within your goggles that you're looking at. So
The
that
cross-sex spider will like that, huh?
yeah, that part. I mean, all this seems fun to me. I like all of that. Whether it's I need it, I don't know. I don't know if we need it yet, and I think that's kind of where we're at
Yeah,
on that.
I think I'm with you. I think that there's not enough need yet.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun though. So Meta, if you want to send me one of those, I will be happy to test that out for you.
How about man? Just send one for everybody.
Yeah, come on, that's the round of Quest Pros, please.
Everybody on in the loop community. One for Vicky. One for City. One
Yeah, it's like
for
Oprah.
Joshua.
Only. Yeah. So that was what's going on there. So kind of some big picture discussions there happening with Meta and the metaverse and where it's going. And we can get into some more specific stuff another time. The last thing I wanted to bring up though, and this was something that just came out today, and it has to do with a Google a Google thing that they were working on. I'm sure I probably talked about it on here before, but it seemed like one of those texts that's like, okay, is this just a concept and is it going to go anywhere? But it does seem like it's going somewhere and it follows the same vein. So it's called Google Project Starliner. And the name's a little misleading, or Starline, excuse me. Name's a little misleading because it really doesn't have anything to do with space. But it has to do with meeting with other people, but getting an actual 3D holographic, basically, version of them that you sit down with. So this is kind of like some Star Trek, Star Wars level stuff, to where you would be able to have somebody else would have to have the same thing, but you have a bunch of cameras that would render around you and then make it appear as though you're 3D as you're sitting across from them. So Google's been testing this out with a bunch of other a bunch of internal companies, like meetings and onboarding meetings they said that they would do. But now this is going to be coming out to where you're going to be able to do it for some other businesses. So some partner businesses are going to start incorporating this into their offices to see if people are really into it. And I think that means that the testing's gone pretty well so far. So if you look right there, you know, it looks like they're sitting right across from someone. That's how well that rendering is. That's a screen. That's a screen that they're looking at. And so the other person is not in that same room, but it looks like they're sitting right there. So it brings a little bit more realism to, you know, some of those remote meetings. And I think that's a little bit more tangible than the metaverse, to be honest. You do have to have the full, equipment, but how that tech works is pretty cool. Like real-time compression, real-time 3D rendering of someone and having that come back and not feel stilted or weird or out of place. Like that's pretty cool.
We need that, Greg. We
Yeah.
need that for when we do our like meetings preparing for the show, we could just that.
Yep.
You be have something to drink, eat lunch. We could just that would be so cool.
Basically sit down in front of the magic mirror and have it.
Yeah.
It's the rendering capabilities are just really cool.
Yeah,
really
that's
cool with this.
awesome.
But the fact that they're sending it out to some other businesses, so I believe it was like T-Mobile and some Hackensack Meridian Health, Salesforce, WeWork. So a bunch of different companies that they partner with are going to start incorporating this into their businesses, which means more and more people are going to be trying it out. So that, maybe for bigger companies, that could be something that you could actually be seeing used.
This I can absolutely see being used. In fact, I would actually consider getting one of that for our company, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, different locations could have that. Like we have our back office support is in multiple states. I have clients in different countries. This would be super cool. Not only that, if you've been following the news, you'll be seeing that. You probably heard there's been all sorts of really weird, reasons like people can't travel because of some countries are shut and some don't let you travel. Then there's health issues to be concerned about. There's family, and I mean, talk about a way to really bring back that in-person experience and putting it in front of you. I think taking us away from the typical laptop or monitor and making it feel real, that's what's necessary to truly make this work, I think, on a virtual basis.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. So, again, just kind of changing that. And I feel like over this last couple of years, with everything that's gone on, this has really pushed this technology further and people are more willing to try this stuff out. And I think it's pretty interesting. So that's kind of what I have for this week. But talking about that stuff and just how it's all changing. There's so much happening right now. Like everything's changing so fast, but I love the fact that all of this is being tested. Who knows if all of it will work out, but why not try it out, see what happens? So that's kind of my motto is with other people's money in tech. So, if it fails, it's not on me.
Other people's money in there.
Microsoft and Facebook and, Google, they can spend the money on that. And then we just get to see if it works.
This is really cool. I like that. And it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. And for those of you who are joining us, if you have any questions for Greg on anything that he discussed today, of course, feel free to send him a message or put in comments here and most importantly, let me ask you this. I mean, we have a lot of viewers from all different platforms. If, let's say, hypothetically, Greg or myself were in front of these monitors and you had one of these locations close to you, like Greg mentioned, a WeWork, right? If there wasn't in a neighborhood WeWork, would you be interested in scheduling a session so that we could like literally feel like we're in the same place, having coffee, breaking
Yeah.
bread and talking? Like, this be something that you would want to use not only to meet us, but maybe like your future employer, or maybe somebody that you can't just jump like in the car and meet like that afternoon?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it gives it more of that real personal feel. I think adding on that 3D level. I mean, we're all used to Zoom or Teams or Google or whatever, however we're meeting online, but adding the 3D element and making it kind of like you're sitting across from someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that gives it a little bit more of a personal touch.
I feel like they need to install this in a Starbucks. I mean, I just feel like, you that you could just be like, I'll meet you at Starbucks. And it's like, this would
Yeah.
be a good Starbucks marketing thing. Maybe at Starbucks, and then they would
Just
say,
have a line of these and then you dial up your
yeah,
buddy and another. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Things
So there you go, Starbucks. But yeah, it's interesting stuff. So there's a lot of it out there, and I'll try to share some more of that stuff. And if anybody does have questions, feel free to reach out. Let me know. I feel like we've covered a lot of stuff in this episode.
We did, and I'm so glad because our technology.
I've been talking a lot. So sorry, everybody, but I get excited about this stuff.
We appreciate it, and it was such good information. It was keeping us on top of all things tech, and we need to know this, Greg. A lot of things to look forward to, and most importantly, we should celebrate today that Greg's tech is working flawlessly too. Did they say that too quickly? But the end of the shows, I feel like I can say that now.
Yeah. I think we made it. We made it so far, but
amazing. Well, thank you so much for our friends. I see Vicky; she's laughing about Starbucks and 3D. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate, of course, your support and your comments. Of course, don't forget to subscribe and make sure to turn on the alert button so you'll know each time that we go live. But of course, after this, definitely send us some questions and comments if you see anything. I know Sadiq does an amazing job with this on Twitter. He's always sending Greg and I interesting things and tagging us on it. So we appreciate that so much.
Yes.
And then we'll be back right next week.
Yeah, back next week.
Perfect. Well, we'll look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you so much and have an amazing week.
Bye, everybody.